Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Nightcap. Y'all know me, I'm your favorite Unc, Shannon Sharpe. And look who's filling in for Ochocinco. That's right, the triple OG. Poured off the native, but HTX is where he called home now, the one and only Bun B. Bun, what it do?
I'm good. I'm good. It's funny because I'm always called Unc. Everybody call me Unc, and then I'm in here with Unc. So it's Unc and Unc tonight.
That's what it's the Unc and Unc show today. All right, but please make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Please make sure you hit the like button. And guys, do us a favor. Go subscribe to the Nightcap podcast feed wherever you get your podcast from. We would like to thank each and every one of you for your eyes, your ears, and your word of mouth, because thanks to you, we've been able to do everything we've been able to do. And because of you, we are who we are. So thank you very much and continue your support. Please make sure you check out Shea by Le Portier. Now, Shea by Le Portier is a premium cognac. Now, if you cannot find it in a city or state near you, best believe we're coming soon, but order it online. We'll ship it directly to your door. Please drink responsibly and stay safe while you're out there. Go follow my media company page on all of its platforms, Shay Media, and my clothing company, 84, with 84 being spelled out. The link is pinned in the chat. Supplies are limited. Once they're gone, they're gone. So please grab yours while supplies last. All right. Make sure you guys, you know what, Bun? We're going to talk about this. The Trill Burger. I have yet to try the Trill Burger, but you know, HTX is one of my favorite cities. It might be my favorite city, and I'm an Atlanta native. But you know what? We're going to get to that in a minute. But let's talk about the Trill Burger.
Yes, sir.
How did you come up with this concept?
And I'll be honest, Shannon, I didn't come up with the concept of the burger. I had made friends with a gentleman named Andy Wynn, probably 11 years now. He used to be in the clothing industry. So I met him at the Magic Convention. The Magic Convention is a huge clothing convention that happens in Las Vegas twice a year. I met him there. He had a clothing line called I Am King. And most of the people that are there, they're showcasing. The convention is from people who have clothing brands, shoe brands, anything in that fashion, and people who sell. So it's a conference where people come, they look at your brand, see if they want to put it in their store and that kind of a thing. So a lot of what they're showing is just samples of what's to come. Because if you go there in the summer of, let's say if I go this summer in 25, what I'm buying for them, I won't get till winter, or maybe spring. You know what I'm saying? So, so he had this hat with I Am King on it, and I knew it was the only one he had. And so I said, let me get that hat from you. That way I knew I was rocking something nobody else would have at the convention. And so we were very cool. And then he moved into food in California. He's done extremely well for himself in the food industry. He's a licensing genius. So he has a license for Hello Kitty. He's got a couple of stores with Hello Kitty. He's got the license for this Japanese anime series called One Piece, which is extremely successful. He had a Sonic the Hedgehog cafe before. He was partners in an ice cream company called After's Ice Cream. They opened over 30 plus doors. So he's been extremely, and this is just a small number of the things that he's got his hands in. So he's been very successful. And he and his partners had developed a burger. And the smash burger trend was starting to take off in California a couple of years ago. And so he was like, well, I can't do it in California because it's too much competition. Too many companies got traction out here. I need to move a little bit further down in the country, because kind of what happens is these trends will take place and start in one part of the country and then start to move across the country. So if you notice, maybe
branch out.
8 years ago, you started seeing poke. Everywhere you go, you start seeing poke. About 4 years ago, you start seeing hot chicken everywhere you go. Now you see smash burgers. Everybody's got a smash burger concept. So he was like, if I don't catch it by the time it get to Texas, I'm gonna miss the whole thing. So we had a mutual friend, a guy named Nick Scurfield. Nick used to work for the Texans. I met him when we got whooped terribly by the Patriots. I'm sure you remember that
Monday night game
jacket fiasco.
Yeah.
That's why I met Nick. That was a rough pill to swallow in that city that day, by the way.
Yeah. They be up, y'all.
And we learned a big lesson about showing up is about on the field, not about on the bus and the plane. But we became good friends, and so he moved out of working with the Texans into starting a marketing company and promotional company. And so he was one of his company was doing marketing for Andy's company. So he reached out to Andy, said, man, I'm really looking to start this in Texas. He was like, well, I know Bun, and Bun's been wanting to do something in that space for a while because I started a food blog about 10 years ago called You Gotta Eat This. Now, in our minds, it was me and my partner, Premium Pete. In our minds, we figured if we start a food blog, at the very least, we'll be able to get tables at good restaurants. But if we do it right, we might get invited to try, host this to get some new snacks or, I always see that big Taco Bell presentation. It's almost as big as the Apple when Tim Cook and them come out and do the new Apple presentations every year when they pop them new snacks out. I said, man, it'd be cool to get invited to somewhere for their new stuff and all of that. But it really became a passion project. We never made no real money off of it. It's always been a passion project. But both of us wanted to move into actually selling food and presenting food. So he started a spaghetti sauce, which has been doing real well. He used his grandmother's recipe, which is doing really well. And I was approached by the guys about being a part of this company. And once I tried this burger, I was like, this burger is a problem. Like, this burger is really, really good. It was like, hold on, we think we almost there. You know what I'm saying? And then when they came back to me about 2 weeks later, I said, man, this is some of the best food I've ever eaten. Not just a burger. I realized this burger was far beyond anything anybody had ever done with a hamburger. But I realized, that this is an opportunity. It's a real opportunity for me to be a part of a company that I believe could potentially change everybody that's involved's life. You know what I'm saying? And so far, we've got 2 doors open here in Houston, one on Shepherd and one on Louetta. And we're about to open 2 more before the end of the year, which is driving us crazy. You know what I'm saying? Most people right now, obviously, with what's going on, everybody's worried about staff. You know what I'm saying? Staff and people. And even before everything that's happening in this country, man, post-COVID, people don't really want to work no more,
Nah, people want to work from home. But if you're in the service industry, it's hard to work from home.
Yeah, you can't cook them burgers from home and then send them to somebody's house. That's not how this company works. But we're working the kinks out. You know what I'm saying? We've had our ups and downs, but, everything's been a learning experience. And it's beautiful that I get to connect not only with people that have been supporters and fans, because obviously the first people that come through the door, were Bun B fans. But we've had amazing opportunities to present this burger to the entire city of Houston for the past 4 years with the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo. They get over 2 million people through the gates every year, and that's where the city fell in love with the burger. You know what I'm saying? So we've had some great opportunities to present this brand to the city in a big way. They've been receptive, and obviously the Bun B fans and the UGK fans, they come throughout the gate and show love. But now it's at the point, man, where we'll come in and you can tell these people have no idea who I am. They have no idea what Trill means. Any of that, they just know this is a good burger. And that works for me. You know what I'm saying? There isn't a day.
That's how it should be.
And there isn't a day or a moment where you come in this restaurant and you don't really see what Houston really reflects. You see white people, you see Black people, you see Latina, Asian, you see couples, you see single people, old people, young people, families, straight people, any gender, any affiliation with any religion. We've had them all come in. You know what I'm saying? Because we want to represent a version of Houston that's as inclusive as possible, that don't block nobody out. So you ain't got to know who Bun B is. You ain't got to know who Trill is. Got that Big Pimp C mural on the wall. They may not even know who that man is in the white mink coke and the big hat.
Yeah,
but they know it's good food.
What, Bun?
They know it's good food, and that's all that matters.
The thing is, Bun B might have got him in the door, but to get him to come back, Bun B can't get him to come back. Bun might have got him initially. Man, hey, man, I heard Bun got a new spot down there, man. Bun always giving back to the community. Let's go support him. One time. It's just like you start something. It's like with a new podcast, this is what I tell people. I said, look, if you got a podcast, I said, you can only get somebody once. You got to leave an impression to say they want to come back. Because if you lose them, they're not coming back.
And there's so many content choices right now.
Absolutely.
And that's what I like about you, because y'all are so consistent. That's the number one thing about podcasting. It's not about guests, not about topics, not about location, backdrop, none of that mess. It's about consistency. When you tell them people, meet me here every Tuesday, You miss a Tuesday. Some of the people don't come back.
They ain't
Some of the
coming
people
back.
don't come
Right.
back, man.
And that's what I tell them. That's what I try to tell people, Bun. Because here's the thing: people think because man, all you got is a microphone and a camera. I can do that because Bun. The easier it is to make money, the more resentful people will become of you. Because see, people don't really resent an athlete because man, I can't run, I can't jump, I can't throw a football, I can't tackle, I can't hit a baseball. But everybody feels they can talk. So if I got a camera, I got a microphone, I should be able to do it. And they see what some of these influencers and bloggers or whatever the case may be, and they see what they're making. But when I say, bro, you just don't turn the camera on and start talking. You have to have a staff. You have to have a topic. You have to have a rundown. You need to know what you want to talk about. You need to have somebody to weave you in and out of traffic. It's not as easy as it looks. So, and people are like, well, man, but I got to have a life. Okay, a life is fine if that's what you want. Life, if you want life, that's 9 to 5. Fine, you can have that. But Bun, when you become successful or you want to become uber successful, there is no off time. There is no 9 to 5. There is no balance. Greatness, there is no balance to greatness. I don't know why people don't understand that.
No. And here's the thing, man. Like when you decide you want something, right? When you decide you really, really want something, then you have to figure out how to restructure your life to benefit that. And like I'm a married man, and there's been many times where I've had to sacrifice family time for business. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
People don't see that. You know what I'm saying? People see you, on stage or on the TV or all of these things, you know what I'm saying, and being available and accessible to them. But every time I give my time to the world, it's time I take away from my family. So my family has to understand the sacrifice I'm making for us. You know what I'm saying? For this family.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot to go into it. But here's the first thing. Do people really want to even hear what you got to say?
Yes, absolutely.
There's a level of self-awareness that has to be present in podcasting for it to work. Because you jump out there the first week, you're going to mumble over your words. You're going to mix up things. The Wi-Fi ain't going to hit. Things ain't going to work. You know what I'm saying? And that'll discourage most people out the door. Yes. Then you try to come back and push through it and make it work. You got to decide if we're going to be a guest-driven podcast, we got to have somebody every time we want to do a show. That ain't easy. Everybody ain't always available. Ochocinco somewhere with a beret on eating croissants. You know what I'm saying? In France, somewhere, Ayyy and all over the place, Yeah. So you got to have potential co-hosts, potential guests. People don't understand how hard it is to even book talent, bro. Like,
you got to have a booking service.
So many different parts of this that have to be moving succinctly before you even sit down in the chat. I was online for about 5-6 minutes talking to 2 different people before you even pop up on the screen. But that's the level of commitment that it takes, and that's how serious
it requires.
That's how serious.
It's mandatory.
Now, the problem is, like me with a recording artist, it's very easy to gather the equipment and resources needed to record a song and release the song to the public. If you buy a laptop, Apple laptop, it's gonna come with garage bands, the equipment. Every year, recording equipment and accessories get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So it's very easy to actually make the music, create the music, and put the music out to the public. But that don't mean you finna blow up. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? This stuff all take time. It's trial and error. Everything is trial and error. The first song I made was terrible. I can tell you, the first rhyme I wrote, when I say bad, my rap name was terrible back. My rap name used to be Shadow Storm. So I just thought I had to have one of these glorious type of names that, would tell everybody who I was before I walked in the room. I was way off. It had nothing to do with that. The name don't matter. My rap name ended up being Bun B, which don't mean much of anything in the world of names. You know what I'm saying? So a man is not made by his name. You know what I'm saying? That had nothing to do with it. I had to realize that if I want to be good at this, if you want to be good at something, you got to be prepared to actually be bad at something. That's the thing. Right. You have to walk in the room and be prepared to tell these people, like you see on American Idol, you just ain't ready. But if you watch American Idol, most people don't watch it consistently. But if you watch American Idol you'll see somebody that you look familiar. Yeah, I tried out in season 2 and it didn't work. So here I am, season 4, trying it again. And they come year, and then on year 5, they pick the right song. Right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's the right song, the right look, the right feel, something in the moment they pick, and then those people actually get on American Idol. So just because you get a no doesn't mean it's not meant for you. It might just mean you're not ready.
Right. Bun, looks like you were given the keys to your hometown of Port Arthur, Texas. I mean, growing up, could you have imagined that growing up in Port Arthur, that one day you would come back and have a key to the city? You know, they gave me a key to the city in my hometown. It was a crowbar. But they said, come back anytime. You're like, you know what I'm saying, boy? I can come back anytime I want to, bud. No, but in all seriousness. I mean, think about it, Bun. When you growing up, and you didn't, I mean, HTX is a hop, skip, and a jump from Port Arthur. But for the city and its residents to show you love and what you've been able to accomplish once you left, and to be able to come back and they fully embrace you, what does that mean to you, Bun?
Let me tell you something. I'm growing up in Port Arthur. If you had business on 4th Street, somebody had to pick you up from jail, or you was at court. Unless you worked for the city, you really ain't got no business on that part of 4th Street. You know what I'm saying? So being of value as a black man in Port Arthur on 4th Street, you either the mayor or that's it. You know what I'm saying? That's the only people, the mayor and the police chief, those are the only people in that part of town that got any power. If you're on that side of town, you did something wrong. So for me to be there tonight for doing something right, I mean, it couldn't have even been something I predicted would happen. You know what I'm saying? Because you really want to try to be built in a certain way to get out of a small town. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a big part of it is like, man, I got to get out of this town. You know what I'm saying? But you don't forget the town, right? You don't turn your back on the town. You always show up.
That's Shape Bun. That's City made Bun, the guy that we see and everybody see the refined product, but it was shaped, it was formed in Port Arthur,
Absolutely. That's where I got my determination from, because you have to be determined to escape certain environments in this country. You know what I'm saying? You have to have focus, because it's a very small and it's a very, I don't want to say it's a comfortable town, but it's a town that allows people too high of a level of comfort. If you're hungry in Port Arthur, you got a cousin, you know somebody, mom, you can get a meal, you can get a couple of dollars, you can get a beer, you can get, you know what I'm saying? You can get enough to get through, which would make some people not even want to try to do more than that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, you know, I grew up in a small town. Shannon, you know, like I know where they under the tree. Right? Like you for years, since you was a kid, the same people been right there sitting in them folding chairs at their little 4-point table, you know what I'm saying, with their little purple brown bag on the side of them, playing dominoes and talking shit right there all day long. And I just knew that's not the life I wanted. Now, it's okay when I pull in town, I pull up certain places, I can sit down, I pull up, go 5th Avenue, I pass by Brad's house, Brad them in the garage, I sit down, hang out with him for a minute or whatever. But neither Brad nor I want that to be our life. But I do see people, you know, older people that went to school before me, people who, you know, were, you know, top athletes, you know, they was homecoming kings and all that type of thing. They just, for some reason, the transition didn't work for them. You know what I'm saying? Going from the king of high school to the king of college is a whole different atmosphere for people, much less making it to professional sports and anything like that. So and there's not a lot of motivation. Like, most people are like, no, we good right here. And, you know, and I'm not knocking anybody that lives in Port Arthur. You know what I'm saying? You have to do what you have to do to make it in this world. But I believe that I had more in me, not only to contribute to the world, but to also help put my city on the map, proverbially. You know what I'm saying? So me and Pep, you know, rest his soul, man, we really put a lot into it. And we did it knowing that we came from a place where if you went out there and misrepresented it, you wasn't welcome when you come back. So if you're going to take Port Arthur around the world, you better take it the right way.
Let's get into some topics, Bun. Sean's reported a concern that Tyrese Halliburton has a right calf strain. Despite the industry, Halliburton will continue to push to play in the team's upcoming game on Thursday, per The Atlantic. Should the Pacers shut him down? Now, we saw a guy about 4 or 5 years ago, 5, 6 years ago, excuse me, have a calf injury, and he pushed to play one Kevin Durant, and it didn't end up well for him. We saw JT, Jason Tatum. He went down earlier in the postseason with an Achilles injury, and that's a debilitating injury. It's going to take you out for the entirety of a complete season. Now, watching the game last night, I thought, and I said this last night, Rick Carlisle, Tyrese Halliburton's like, I understand he wants to play, and he doesn't want to let his teammate down, but you weren't giving him anything. TJ McConnell was out playing you. And you went back to Tyrese Halliburton, and the amount of minutes that TJ McConnell played, he outplayed Tyrese. I mean, if I'm out there, and I understand guys want to be out there. I was an ex-professional athlete, and I wanted to be out there. But it's hard if I'm not giving you, if just me being out there, that's not enough. Not in that type of situation. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, for one, you know, the coach is supposed to protect the players. I get it. Right. You know what I'm saying? Now, Tyler's postseason has been built on how the league portrayed him, right? The players got out there and said he was the most underrated. That'll put a fire under your feet for sure, right? That pushed him all the way up to the finals, to the conference finals. And then I feel, and this could just be me, but I feel like Siakam getting the MVP put another fire on his feet, right? I agree. There's so much in his mind that Tyrese really has to prove right now. And I don't think it's just to himself. I really think he really wants to show this league that he's the best. I think he wants to prove it. The beauty of your team is not necessarily that you're the best, is that your team is deep. So that when you aren't productive, you know what I'm saying? McCollum can come in, Siakam can come in, people can come in and pick up that slack. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We had that issue here when we had Chris Paul in the playoffs with the Rockets. You know what I'm saying? Chris pushed too hard. Chris was, Chris at that time was, a little bit dealing with injuries, you know what I'm saying, off and on. And still to this day, as he played. And he probably shouldn't have pushed himself that far. If they had held him back a little bit, we would have won one of those 2 games had he not gone out. You know what I'm saying? We might not have won the first one, but we would have been competitive in both of those games. So you really got to think of the long term when these things happen. But, I mean, like I know, Shannon, this is it. Ain't no basketball after this for a while anyway. No, so you play football. You know what guys were willing to live on the field during the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? Take that needle, bro. They're going to leave it all out on the field. I remember with the Astros, our pitcher went out and we had the guy, he was sitting in there, man, and he's ready to go in. He's ready to go in, but he had just pitched a while back and he was a little tender, but it's game 7. Like, I'm ready to go in, put me in. And they like, no, because honestly, we want to keep you under contract and make sure you're still good. Right. And the Astros ended up losing the game.
Have you for one game, and then now we got you on the hook for $150 million for the next 6 years, and you can't pitch.
Luckily McCullers was just getting ready to come back, you know what I'm saying, from 2 years of injury. So I understand it. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to stop a player, especially one is the money, right? Obviously the money's a driver. I don't think that's a factor in this. It's the competitive nature. It's the want to prove that I am who I've said I am, and I'm not who y'all try to say I am. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think they've got a rotation that they can work through him. But again, if they don't put him in, right, or give him restricted time, he's gonna blame himself if they don't pull through in game 6.
Right. But I think the thing is, look, he has to understand. He could, and I don't think he's overrated, but he happens to be in an era with Steph Curry, with Luka Doncic, with Shai Gilgeous, with James Harden, John Morant. If you look at the guys he's up against, there were some good 2 guards, but ain't nobody get mentioned with Jordan. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. There's some really, really good quarterbacks with Tom Brady. I mean, think about it. There was some really good quarterbacks. So you trying to say that Peyton Manning and Ben Roethlisberger and Phillip Rivers and Drew Brees weren't good quarterbacks? But when you got that guy, you just have to get what people give you. And I think that's the thing with Tyrese Halliburton. He could go out there and he could average 30. People are not going to put him in front of Steph. They're not going to put him in front of Luka. They're not going to put him in front of Shai. They're just not, Bun.
There's too many greats in that.
You in the rap game.
Go ahead, Shannon.
You in the rap game, Bun. And you know this. I mean, when Tupac and Biggie, let's just say Tupac, Biggie, Hove, KRS-One, Rakim, Big Daddy Kane. You got to take the 10 best rappers. Okay, everybody's going to be talking about the 10 best rappers. It's going to be one or two, and that's how it's always been. And it's always going to be. There have been some great R&B singers, a bunch of them back in the 80s. You know, the 80s and 90s, the R&B was king. But only Marvin Gaye. If you wasn't Marvin Gaye, if you wasn't Teddy P, bruh, Barry White, oh well, maybe you threw Freddie. Freddie came along in there and snuck in there. Time. But that was it. Yeah, he got a little time. But it was basically Marvin Gaye and Teddy P.
Look, that doesn't mean you aren't a great player just because you aren't considered the greatest player. And that shouldn't affect you mentally. You know what I'm saying? My favorite player was always Jamal Crawford.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
I'm talking about one of the best to ever play the game, right? Mm-hmm. But he was always considered the best sixth man. You know what I'm saying? If somebody go down, I got us from here. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like Tyrese is a player like I feel like the Pacers as a team are built.
Yeah, like they ain't got no superstars on the team.
But their mentality is that everybody's ready to step up.
Yes, you never know. It's really hard to game plan for them because you never know who's going to get that 25 and then who's going to have the 19, the 18, the 17, the 16. They don't have that one guy. And maybe in some situations it hurt them because most teams that win championships, they do have that one guy. They can give him the ball and he can go get you a bucket.
That's why we didn't get further than we have. That's why we didn't get further than we have because right now we have a very young team with a first-time coach. And we just don't have anybody that we can say, hey, I need this two right now. And every team has to have somebody that can give you that two when you need it consistently. Now, if you have a rotation where you know if I get these guys where I want them in this particular scheme, we can make this work. But all of that's wishful thinking. I'm talking about, and he's a two. He's a two, bro. That's a tall ladder to climb, bro. That's a lot of rungs to climb to try to, to say that you are considered amongst the best, bro. The best person that ever played this game played your position. The best ever to play the game played your position. Right. Some of the best shooter ever to shoot the basketball played in your position. It's going to be a wow. You got to have chips. You got to have a couple of MVPs.
You got to put some time in.
You know what I'm saying? There's a couple of things that's going to have to come together in order for everyone to consider Tyrese to be that player. That doesn't mean he won't be that player. Right now, I don't even think he has to be that player. You know what I'm saying? I think I don't think he has to be that player. But if it ain't his time, bro, you left 30-plus teams behind, bro. Take some pride in that. And y'all only going to get better. This team's only going to get better. But right now, he's got to be very, very careful because he could do some real damage to
more harm.
Yeah, he can do some real damage. And I know it goes far beyond the physical side of it in this point in the game. When you are not at your top, health and performance ability and capabilities in the moments, like right here, this is the biggest moment. This is the stage that 8-year-old and 7-year-old, guys, that's who they want to be. That's where they want to go. And when you're not in optimum prime position to take advantage of it, man, that becomes far beyond physical. That's a mental thing. That can cripple you mentally or it can supercharge you.
I'm gonna say this and we're going to move on. Go back and look at Grant Hill. Grant Hill had an ankle injury, and he played in the playoffs. And Grant Hill was never the same. He was on his way to being a historically great player. He could do it all. Go back and look at Grant Hill, and once he got that ankle injury, he was never the same player. Guys, be careful. LeBron James is pushing back on the idea that championship rings are the only measure of greatness in basketball. On his new episode of Mind the Game podcast with Steve Nash, LeBron said, I don't know why it's discussed so much in our sport. Why it's the end all, be all of everything. It's like you weren't a great player if you never won a championship. Or if you won one, you can't be the same conversation as this person. You sit here and tell me Allen Iverson, Charles Barkley, Steve Nash wasn't unbelievable? Oh, they can't be talked about or discussed with these guys because they won? It's weird to me. It's like saying Peyton Manning can't be in the same room with Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes because he only has one ring. Well, Peyton has 2 rings. But I get what LeBron is trying to say. But that's what society, that's what social media, that's what we've done now. We've turned everything into a ring. If you don't have a championship, it's almost it. And at one point in time, it was like that with the Grammys, bud. Man, you ain't got no Grammy. Man, you ain't got no Grammy.
But sometimes that's what it takes to fuel you, though. Right? If you would ask LeBron that prior to having a chip, he would have told you that's his motivation. That's his drive. That's what I want to be. I want to be placed on the mantle next to those other greats. Well, you have to look at what those other great people have achieved. You have to look at what their success is gauged by. You know what I'm saying? And who they played against, the level of competition. All of these things come into that. So, and you got chips. I don't know who he's arguing for in this. And
I think the thing is, Bud, if you look at LeBron, look at the guys that he idolized. What did they have? Jordan, rings. Magic, rings. Bird, rings. So those are the three guys that we know he looked up to. What does all those guys have in common? Championships. There's a reason why he left, because he wanted a championship. He felt that the organization didn't have the wherewithal, or he didn't trust them to get the requisite pieces in Cleveland, so he went to Miami. You see, it's a big relief once you have something, because it's easy for the person that says, man, I'm gonna take me some time. Well, yeah, Elon Musk can take a 6-month vacation. Jeff Bezos can take a 6-month vacation. But ask him when they were building their business, did they take a 6-month vacation? Okay, now LeBron, did you feel this way before you had championships or after you got them? And I agree with everything he's saying. I just believe this, Bun. When we're having a conversation and I got to put EST on it, you got to have championships. Now, I'm not saying you can't be great, because Charles Barkley, I'm old enough, you and I are old enough, because we remember a lot of these cats. I remember Charles Barkley. I remember Karl Malone. I remember Patrick Ewing. I remember some of these great players. But when I need to add EST, I just don't know how I can.
But you come from football.
I don't know how
you come from football. So Marino, that was always the argument about Marino on every other
Barry
level,
Sanders,
up against every other standard. He was always the litmus test for the position. The only thing was, and look, I'm a Rockets fan, so we got those asterisks next to us where Jordan would play baseball. You know what I'm saying? But no, I mean, it's a very, very real thing to have the want to get a championship, which is what inspires and drives a lot of people. But when you're a grander talent as LeBron, you know, quite frankly, if you want to be in that conversation, there's a couple of things missing. We know you have the talent. We know you have the skill. That's never been a question with LeBron James. You know what I'm saying? But if you want to be in that Mount Rushmore, you still have some work to do. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. He's actually still physically capable enough to do the work. But I think, one, I don't think this should be something that should be bothering LeBron James, because he's going to succeed at a level that very few people in any sport or any business will be able to succeed. But then also, I don't know if that's something that still is potential could drive him, because if that's who he's looking to compete with, how many more years would it realistically take him to get those extra 2 rings that he's probably looking at right now?
Yeah, no. Like I said,
so is this to negate that argument preemptively? Is that what we're doing?
I think the thing is, what people hold, they say, well, you jumped. You went to Miami. You went to Cleveland. You went to L.A. And so I think, you know, he's like, the rings. And when we talk about NFL players, they say the greatest player. I mean, Dan Marino is always on the list, the name that you mentioned. And I know Dan, I've worked with him for a decade, know him very well. We shared the same agent when we played. Is that he was always on the list, greatest player to never win a championship. That was Dan Marino, because he could throw the ball like no one else. That quick release, I mean, 5,000 passing yards, 48 touchdowns in an era when everybody ran the football, and you could hold, you could punish the quarterback, you could hit him everywhere, the top of his head, even the bottom of his feet when he laid down. You could hit him there too. So, but I just think the thing is what happened is that we used to never have these arguments because we didn't have social media.
Right.
You see, now, Bud, everybody's a coach, everybody's a GM, everybody's a former player. And no matter how much you say, I don't pay attention to it, we're trained. We do. We see the negative. We see the next. No matter how much money Elon Musk has, he's worth $400 billion. He took a drug test to say, you know what? I ain't on drugs. You see? Why would somebody say you on drugs? You worth $400 billion.
What do you care?
But he does.
And that's what happens when, you know, a good friend of mine, Dizzy Rascal, he's a recording artist in London. And on one of his songs, he said, you don't care about my rich man problems. I don't care about your bitch ass problems. You know what I'm saying? And that's the reality. It's not that LeBron doesn't necessarily have a valid argument. I think there's validity into his argument. Of course, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you're LeBron James. You know what I'm saying? To me, these type of arguments almost belittle what you've done. It's right. Almost to the point of, well, yeah, I mean, I won a couple of chips, right? Which is something to celebrate, but I didn't win as many chips as someone else, which other people would look down on.
And that's okay.
And what does that really, just like you said, like everybody's watching everything. We answer to the experts, then we answer to the amateurs, and then we answer to the observers. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing to not watch ESPN, right? But it's another thing to put the phone down. But even the people around you will see what's being said. You're going to get that information back. You know what I'm saying? You just gotta be able to eat. I feel like at this point you just got to eat all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But is he saying that I don't need that to be considered great? So is he saying I'm one of the greats?
But he got it.
That's my thing. Is he trying to say, am I one of the greats and that my lack of chips don't matter? Because to the people coming up behind you, like you look like you holding a hot hand right now. And you know, in the scope of things, right? In the full scope of everything.
I think the thing is, Bun, is that, bro, you got more regular season points, more playoff points. You're the only guy. I mean, you're the only guy that's top in points, rebounds, and assists. I mean, no guy that has as many assists points as you got is even in the top 10. You're in the top 5 in assists. I mean, you got 40, 11, and 11. 40,000 points, 11,000 rebounds, 11,000 assists. I think the only guy that maybe even can approach that is Luka, and I don't think Luka's body's going to allow him to play that long. I just think the thing, and this is what he said. LeBron compared the way greatness is measured in other sports, noting athletes like Dan Marino, Barry Bonds are still celebrated regardless of their championship total. Yes, we still celebrate Barry. And some people might, and even though some people might say Barry is the greatest running back they ever saw. But it's hard when you got Tim Duncan with all these rings, he got these MVPs, he got finals MVPs, and to put somebody that doesn't have any in front of him.
This is true.
And he's right. He said added that a championship is a team accomplishment and shouldn't overshadow personal impact or skill while asking for people to appreciate what these athletes have done. But like trying to nitpick an individual because he was not able to win a team game or a team match or whatever the case may be, I don't know where it started. It's just, as long as it's a conversation, especially when it comes like, you know, me individually, it's just weird.
You just got to be careful when you're somebody like LeBron and you make statements like that. You know what I'm saying? People can construe that like it's almost like you're talking to yourself, right?
Right.
That's how some people could take that statement. Like you talking to yourself, like, look, man, I don't have to be considered. You don't have to have what everybody else had to be considered one of the greats, because I would imagine what he's alluding to is the fact that I don't have what they all have, and I'm considered one of the greats. I'm always in the GOAT conversation, that's a fair point.
He got the second most finals MVPs. He's been more first team all NBA selections. He's gotten more all NBA selections. He's been to more all-star games. He's won MVP behind Kobe for the most MVP all-star games. When you look at his total body of work, there are very, very few people. Now, when he talks about Barry Bonds got the most home runs. He's got the most walks. He's got the most intentional walks. He's got 500 home runs. Nobody's even close. I mean, if you just just take away, if you take away Barry Bonds when he went to San Francisco, he's still a Hall of
Absolutely.
Famer because he had 3 MVPs and he had almost 500 home runs before he even stepped
Before
foot
he even got and put
in
on
San
that uniform,
Francisco.
he was already
He's
there.
Silver Slugger, Golden Gloves, because he was legit a 5-tool player. He could hit for average. He could hit for power. He could run the base pads. He was a tremendous defensive player. And his eye, because what people don't realize unless you're old enough to remember, Barry came up as a leadoff hitter. So you know the type of eye that you got, because the most important thing for a leadoff hitter is to get his ass on base. It doesn't matter. He can hit for single, he can hit for a double, hit it over the fence, but I need you on base because now I got my guys to push you. The second hitter, he gets you the second, you steal third. Now my guy get a sac fly or get a ribby, drive you in, whatever the case may be. So Barry always had that eye. Now he can hit for true power. I get what he's saying. I get what he's saying, like Barry Bonds, but those guys, like he's looking at Barkley. Barkley didn't have the most points. When Marino retired, Marino had the most touchdowns, he had the most yardage, so it was easy for you to make that comparison. Now, I don't think we would talk about Kareem because big men don't get credit anyway. Because Kareem got 6 MVPs, and people forget that Kareem got 6. He got more than anybody.
I feel like
he was the all-time leading scorer, and people, I remember in 1984 at Thomas and Mack, because, Bun, I don't know if people used to, they used to, because nobody really followed the NBA like that, they would go different places. Like Boston would play in Hartford, trying to get fan support. The Hawks would play in New Orleans, trying to drum up fan support. The Lakers traveled to Las Vegas to get fan support. That's where he broke it at in 1984, Thomas and Mack. But
my thing is when like whose validation is that? Like that's not a general statement to me. When someone like LeBron James, who is probably one of the most covered athletes on the planet, right, has dealt with more people in the media space than anyone else possibly in sports, from his teen years all the way up to now. To his children are older than he was. Some of his children are older than he was when he entered this media world, right?
Yes. Whose
validation does that statement hearken to? I wonder. When you say some would say, I feel like, it's almost like there's someone who keeps invalidating his contributions that he's trying to prove wrong. And that's why I say, I don't know if he's talking to them or himself. Is that something that he keeps in his mind, right? To remind himself, you're great. It's almost like self-motivational speaking type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want it to look like he's trying to downplay people's opinions of what he does. Those, I don't even, I swear that
you're not going to please everybody,
but but that's always been the thing about LeBron. Like, he really wants to be seen a certain way by people. You know what I'm saying?
He likes to be like, where Kobe and Mike would like kiss my butt.
Which is
LeBron. I think LeBron is me, and the little bit that I've been around him, he's genuinely a nice guy. He really wants to be like. Like I said, I don't know him. Some people might say whatever, but I just know in the little bit that I've been around him, he's a likable guy. And some guys like to be liked. Some guys don't care if you like. Mike does not care if you liked him. Or I shouldn't say ED, like. L-I-K-E or L-I-K-E-D.
Right.
Like or liked. Kobe, rest his soul, was the exact same way.
I think LeBron, and I think what you're speaking to is the fact that LeBron, because of all this media training that he's had all of these years, LeBron feels like he's always done the right thing, said the right thing, played the right way. So I don't understand why everybody is not on the same accord when it comes to what I've done. You know what I'm saying? But it's because we've had people who have had LeBron James was born to play basketball. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, physically, like, he was born to play the game. Everybody wasn't like that. Mike had to work to get there. Kobe had to work to get there. They weren't inherently born with these physical traits that LeBron was given.
That body, that height, that speed, that size. And the thing is, you know what? Sometimes familiarity breeds resentment. Because LeBron is cool with everybody else, they feel like they can take shots at him.
And they know he's not going to shoot back in that way. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing. That
Absolutely.
I've been the nice guy, right? I've been the guy that, because my brother was a little rough, so I had to try to come in and smooth everything out. But every situation, sooner or later, it can't get smoothed out. So all that trying to keep everybody cool and calm. At some point, you could be all of that and still get punched in the mouth.
So, exactly, because the Bible teaches and metaphorically like, hey, turn the other cheek. But people sometimes you get tired of people just keep saying and doing and saying. Hey, I ain't gonna turn the cheek. I'm putting something.
Well, people will play with you because they know you will turn the other cheek. So they anticipate you really not wanting to go there. Every now and then you gotta pull to the side and be like, "Hey man, I will dog walk you, bro. Like I will dog. Don't play with me like that. Just because I don't mean I won't. That's always been my motto.
Exactly.
Just because I don't mean I won't.
Especially you're in someone like in your position or my position, because the more public you are, the less likely you're going to retaliate, and they take kindness for weakness. Oh, he's on television. Oh, X, Y, and Z. He got a business. He's this and that. So why would you even try to get me out of character? First of all, you know that. So why not just keep it moving? I understand. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. As a matter of fact, I don't really care for tea. So I understand everybody's not going to care for Shannon Sharpe. Everybody ain't going to care for Bron or whomever the case may be. But I just think sometimes that's a losing battle.
We live in a turn.
And I had to. Sometimes you just got to say, you know what, it is what it is. You don't like me, but I know there's enough people out there that
there's a term that's used now for people that I don't want to run across, and that's crash out. I don't want to be in a position to deal with nobody that ain't got nothing to lose. I got too much to lose. I can't play with people like that. I got to just go on about my business.
Right. So,
and I keep looking at my dough because I'm waiting for somebody to knock on it with a Shea Portier package, because you done had a burger and I ain't had no liquor. I'm supposed to be sipping on something right now.
You supposed to be sipping on something right now, bud. But you know what? We're going to get your address. I'm going to get you taken care of.
I appreciate it. That'd be a nice little way to make the evening go by right now.
Doc Rivers is pushing back against the trade speculation involving Giannis. It's so ridiculous, and I've heard all these reports. You hear all this stuff, but you don't like when you hear it. You're like, it's not true, but still, your players hear it and everybody else hears it. I don't know how many times Giannis has said he wants to be a Buck and he wants to win a title with the Bucks. And it's so cool to me because it's not the way it's done anymore. But with certain guys, I don't think Steph Curry would ever leave Golden State ever. I'm always hoping, obviously, Giannis feels the same way. That's the way it's been for so far, and it's been great. It's been awesome. Yeah, but the one thing that Steph knew is that he knew Bob Myers and now Mike Dunleavy and ownership of the Warriors would do everything humanly possible, even if it means being in the luxury tax and even being in that second apron, year after year after year. Does Giannis feel that same way, that the Bucks can put a team around him, given the limited assets that they have, that can put them in contention to win or to compete year after year, Bun? There's a totally different situation because every organization isn't like the Warriors, and Doc knows that.
I think the reason we're still in limbo with this whole thing is because Giannis is not the one to show that. You know what I'm saying? His nature is not to buck the system. You can see that. He really wants this to work. I believe he wants to win on that team in that city. I believe that. He doesn't look like the kind of person that's like, oh, well, let's go to LA or let's go here. He doesn't. I feel like that's the perfect city for a person like him and his nature. You know what I'm saying? That being said, something's got to give. I don't believe this organization will leave him behind. I believe they'll give him, if there was somebody he said, we need this guy, they'd give him that guy if humanly possible. I don't see him wanting to leave that city and that team. And I don't think he feels like he's in a position where he has to right now. I do believe there's going to be some pieces that are going to be available in this offseason that if they could go and get one or two pieces that make him a little more comfortable, I don't think he wants to leave. I don't think he wants to start over in a new city with a new team with new ownership. That doesn't seem like John is just ready to. I just want to go where I can win. He doesn't have that. You see that in other players that are willing to go and leave a team and leave an organization. I just want to go where I feel I can win. That's primarily the reason why most guys say they want to leave is either money or the competitive nature of the organization. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he really wants to leave. Now, I'm a Rockets fan, so I'm all for it. Bring his ass on down here. You know what I'm saying? I would love for him to leave because I know his mentality.
Y'all might get KD though.
Well, those are two different types of players for two different reasons. KD's a win now. Like if you bring KD into your organization, you think you're one piece away.
Yeah, hell, you bring Giannis in, you think you one piece away.
Yeah, but if you bring Giannis in, you one piece away that could work for you for another 5, potentially 7 years.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying?
You
got it. Yes. That's why I say Kevin Durant is if we bring him in, we got a 2-year window.
You think that's it?
I think that's what teams think.
Okay.
That's my thing. I think the age and the salary is gonna put people in a position where we just can't do it. But you see where he's looking for teams with tax breaks. Right.
Yep.
But I think with Giannis, Giannis is a very wholesome, very family kind of guy. I haven't heard anything about them being wild or whatever, because if he wanted a lifestyle, he wouldn't stay where he's at. I think that city, that community is just enough for him. Right. Because going to LA would be, if he leaves it to go to LA or a major market, they're going to demand a lot more of him. You know, I feel like Giannis could go to the bakery. Giannis could go to the dry cleaners. And that lends itself to his lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? But certain other cities would demand more out of him because they're a lot more media driven. They're a lot more sponsor driven. You know what I'm saying? And I think I think that's a reason that keeps him with the Bucks. Because he's the biggest fish in that pond by far. Yeah, and I mean it not on the team, even in the city. You know what I'm saying? In the state, he's one of the biggest deals there. I think that's a comfortable place to be if they can give him those pieces. And he's a guy to cut you off, Shannon, he's a guy that'll let some bread go too.
Yeah, I believe that. But let me ask you this. Giannis has had success. He's won a championship. Once you start having success, you crave it. It's like success is a drug. I don't care what anybody tells you. You know this, Bun. I know this. Success is a drug, and you crave it. And the more you have it, the more you want it. And the last thing that you want is that you have a taste of it. And it's almost like they let you sample it. You sample, you like, you buy. Okay, he sampled that success, a championship. Now that's all that matters. He's got MVPs. He's got Defensive Player of the Years. The only thing that matters to Giannis now, how many more will he stack?
I don't think Giannis leaves in this next season. I don't think he leaves that quickly. But I do think this may be the last shot. I believe he's trying to be as patient as possible, but like you said, he's tasted it. And I think he's got enough basketball wisdom and IQ to see if I was here, this would be over. If I played for this team, this wouldn't have even been a question because this guy plays that position much better than my guy. This guy coaches these situations better than my guy. You know what I'm saying? But Giannis is not a rock the boat kind of guy. It just don't seem like that to me. I feel like that's the kind of dude you got to really mess over him or for him to really feel unappreciated. And I don't think he's hit that wall yet in Milwaukee. Right. But I do think they might have one more season.
They on the clock.
Yeah, absolutely. They got one more season. We're going to see what you do in the offseason. We're going to see what you do in All-Star break. And if this tide ain't shifted, something got to give. Something's got to give.
South Carolina quarterback Lenore Sellers turned down an $8 million NIL to transfer to a different school. Lenore's father told his son, "You're 19. You don't need $8 million. You're in a great spot." Let me ask you this, Bun. Do you think NIL is ruining college players because some are prioritizing the bag over a great situation?
I think it's a blessing and a curse. Right. You know, like I know a lot of these young players, predominantly from communities of color. This has always been a pathway to success, to change the scope of how your family dynamic exists, to change things from check to generational wealth. And the draw to go and play in the NFL was what drove people, for the most part, through high school, through college, to try to get to that big payoff. Well, with NIL being inserted now, it's a blessing because kids don't have to wait that long. And like I know, it's a very small number that gets into the NFL, and even smaller that get that big deal out the door and gets that money. And so the opportunity to take care of your family and to set those things straight earlier is obviously a great thing for people to have. But like I know, when some people get their check, they stop giving a damn. It really can stop the drive for people, because it'd be like, oh man, well, I just signed this big check for 5 years and $180 million and all that. Yeah, but now you're the face of the organization. Now you're the biggest cultural export from the city that you play for. The dynamic for all this shit starts changing when that money comes. You know what I'm saying? If for college players that potentially might not make it into the NFL, and there's a substantial number of those people, even if they get NIL, Shannon, we know it's only going to be 4 or 5 people that get real money.
Exactly.
And I think that's something that we don't talk about enough when it comes to NIL and college athlete gameplay, is that, yeah, there's a lot of money that gets inflicted into these universities, and there's a lot of money that's available, but that's going to go to skill players. That's going to go to skill players.
Quarterback, running back, wide receiver.
Absolutely. People that put numbers on the board. That's who, or the sack master, right? Something like that, a pass rusher, guy like that. So if you can get that money, that's fine. Everybody gets money, doesn't stop being driven. But if money's the deciding factor, determining factor, then yeah, that could be something that would stop somebody from wanting to go further. And yeah, if you can get the money and you don't have to go in the NFL and risk your body and risk that pain, and you got a plan to do something with that money, I think it could work for you. I think it works to your benefit. But if you think hopping through the portal from school to school is going to increase your value, you got another thing coming. That's not going to work for everybody. Like if you got a situation where you know there's money waiting for you, that's fine. And if you think you're taking that money now and it doesn't help you, that's the other side. And let me be clear about that. If you think an organization wants, a university wants to pay you to come and play for that school, but you don't think they're contenders, and you don't think it's going to, look good on you, on your record, to play for a school that doesn't really have a good chance at winning anything, then I don't see how you get to the next check if that's all you're worried about is that check. Right. So it's a lot for families to navigate. I've seen players whose parents are, they right now, like their high school parents are like, no, my boy's finna go to this college. It don't matter what college you go to, they're gonna cut him a check. That like parents are actually saying that. They're saying that right now. So, I wish the brother the best, but I think the portal works for probably 10% of the people.
A handful of people.
I think 10% of people, the portal actually puts you in, like, you have a skill set that can work almost anywhere, but this school will nurture your talent. They will put the right type of talent next to you, and you will learn and play and look like you want to go to that next level. But I just think that's a very small group of people, and I think a lot of people are being told that there's a lot of money. And let's be real, a lot of these universities can't even pay you what they said they're gonna pay you. We're not even talking about that. How many college students are sitting on campus with no money because the coach went over there and told you, your mama and your grandmother, then what they was gonna give you, and then you get there and boosters or somebody else like, no, that money's allocated for the boy we got coming from over here. So it's the
NFL version of this topic. Jalen Hurts was concerned for his teammates after signing the biggest deal in NFL history. Don't screw the team. Make sure my team is around, he told his agent. How am I going to keep my team around? How are these guys still going to be paid? Nicole Lynn is his agent. I think he's one of the handful of guys that have a woman as an agent. She's a VP. I think she's a really high-ranking official at Clutch Sports, the Rich Paul agency that he started. I'm very fortunate enough to meet her and some girlfriends at the fight, so I had a great conversation with her. But you see, he's like, yeah, the highest paid? What good is the highest paid if we can't win? Because I'm trying to win championships. And I know the team that I have around me, because they're going to want paydays too. So I'm willing to take a little less and be able to keep X, Y, and Z and PQ around, as opposed to taking all this money and only be able to keep one or two of those guys around. You see his offensive line still intact. They were able to do something with Saquon. They re-signed Brown, they re-signed Devontae Smith.
He understands he's not bigger than.
They're gonna be good
he
for a
understands
while.
He's not bigger than the program. You know what I'm saying? He understands that. Yes, we're successful, and I may be the person that everybody focuses on because of the position I play. But anybody that understands this game know I get nowhere if we don't keep this O-line intact. And
correct,
the real money is in repetition, being competitive repetitiously, right? Being a contending organization
year after year after year.
And the only way to do that is to keep people. And we've seen it done. We see, the Patriots, that was part of the structure. That Tom was like, nope, don't give me all that money. I need this man, I need that guy, and I need those people here. You know what I'm saying? Because Jalen understands, as the face of the organization, as the quarterback of the organization, I can get that money. We can go get that money through sponsorship deals and sneaker deals and all of this stuff. We're not the face of a Super Bowl award-winning team is not hurting for money. He's not hurting for opportunities for money. He's seen what that check was before that chip for everything, and what that check is now post-chip. So if we want more money, we got to win more chips. If I want to have more money and be a bigger force in this game, I've got to win more championships. And in order to do that, there are certain pieces that have to remain. And if I got to take $20 million off of here to get 50 added later down there, let's run with it. I'm with that all day.
Yeah. That's the only way. The NFL is great at that, because the NFL knows, like, you know what? To generate new revenue, we've got to have new eyeballs. So we got to find, like, hey, I've got to be a part of this. So Jalen says, you know what? Hey, I win another championship. People going to say, advertising sponsors going to say, man, I need a piece of him. I need him to represent my product. I need him to represent my brand. I need to attach my brand to Jalen Hurts.
Absolutely. And shout out to that brother, too, because I believe he got married this weekend.
He did. Congratulations.
I wish he would have called me. I would have catered them burgers. I'm right here in Houston. I could have catered them burgers for him.
Because I think he's from Houston.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are very proud of that, brother.
Hey, found one early when he didn't have a whole lot. Now he's got a lot. She's lockstep with him. I love that. Congratulations, Hurts. Darren Waller says he decided to retire after the Giants made him play fullback against the Bills. I sit down on the sideline after a drive where we ran it like 3 times. I'm like, what the bleep am I doing with my life? I'm out here playing fullback. I don't even want to do this ish anymore.
Was that because he was forced into that position?
Yep.
Not. And you telling me no one else wanted him to play him at his natural position at that point? Or was he just? Did that team and that situation frustrate him so much against the direction of the game that he just didn't want to play anymore?
That's what it seems like, because it's hard for me to believe a guy as talented as he was. But I think it has more to do with that he didn't. I don't think at that point in time he really loved the game anymore. So it's easy to step. It's easy to depart something when you don't love it. If you're having a good, there are very few times, Bun, you leave something, whether it's a party, it's a concert, it's an event, it's church. If you're having a good time, you're less likely to leave. Now, if you bored, you're like, man, man, this here for the birds. If you in church, you throw that hand up, and Bud, you get that, you put that deaconess hand up.
I'm gonna say it like this, Shannon. You ever got ready to go somewhere that you know was finna be the turn up? They'd be like, all right, now look, we're gonna go in here, we're gonna have one drink, we're gonna say hi to everybody.
Yep.
I want to be out of here by midnight. Right? And then you look at your watch, it's 2 a.m, and you just ordered 3 more bottles.
But you know what, Bun? I've also been in a situation where I got dressed and I'm like, man, why am I going? I already know it's going to be some bull jive and take my clothes right on the
I don't go to award shows really anymore. Me and my wife went to one. We was clean. I went and bought me a Giannis suit, 6 racks. She had Versace head to toe. I was clean.
He had that Brioni. You heard that, man? He said Brioni.
Yeah, I'm finna do that. I was like, with this award, I'm nominated. I want to pop out. Come on, baby. We finna pop out. Man, we had them tight ass shoes on, and we ended up in line behind Mary J. Blige on the red carpet. Man, we took some people, we left. And as a couple, we haven't been to an award show yet. I've since. Like it's too much, man. It's too much.
Yeah, I think, but I think the crux of this, I think he had kind of fallen out of love with the game of football, and now I'm looking. But you know how sometimes you can look for a reason not to do something. Oh, you know what? That's it right there. So him playing fullback for 3 plays on one drive. Enough.
You know, we
put him over the edge.
Used to. There was a time, and I wasn't proud of it. There was a time when UGK would tour, and when you're an artist and you tour, you put together what's known as a rider, and a rider is everything that you want ready for you when you arrive in the city. It's typically what you want for your dressing room, but it also extends into the sound equipment, what kind of board we're sending the sound through, what kind of speakers, you know what I'm saying? What does all of this look like? And there was a time where we had an airtight rider, and Chad's whole thing was every now and then we'd book a show where he knew they weren't going to have everything on the rider. And it's a deal breaker. Like if contractually, if I go to your city, you book me for a show, and I say I need A through Z on there, and you forget H, L, and W, I cannot perform and still get paid. So there was a time where Pip was like, oh man, I know they ain't gonna have it tonight. I know they're not gonna have this, and that. They don't even know how to find that type of equipment. So I know they're not gonna have this tonight. And I try to get with the sound man. I tell them, bro, you got to spend a little bit more money, because you don't spend a little bit more money, bro, you're gonna lose a lot of money. Because you got people that, like you say, they looking for an excuse to go home. And but let me ask you this, like, why would a football player, and I'm sure it's got to be several things, why would, if that wasn't enough to really to make a man want to quit the game, what would it be that would have frustrated Darren Waller to not want to play? This is the guy that I used to draft on my fantasy football team all the time. The man was bound to do numbers. He was a good player. Is it not being paid properly? Do you feel you're not being paid properly?
No, he was paid. He's one of the highest paid players. But Bun, think about it. When he was motivated because he had some off the field issues, he did everything. He sacrificed, got his life in order to get back into the league because he had a desire to get in the league. At that point in time, he no longer had a desire to stay in the league. And like you said, well, if I'm looking for I promise you, if I'm looking for a reason not to go somewhere, not to do something, I can find one.
That's very true. That's very true. I'm 52 now. I'm Pawpaw. I'm looking for a reason to stay on this sofa in my drawers and watch TV.
Noah Lyles has canceled his race against Tyreke Hill in Times Square due to personal reasons. Cheetah ran 10-1 500 meters last week and trolled Lyles with a response to Noah's Tyreek could never, signed after he ran the 60 meters in February. Noah could never.
I don't understand this Noah Lyles situation of protesting so much in public.
I
don't get it. I don't get it. I guess because, you know what? There's got to be some new shit with the internet age. I've never seen Olympic champions like compare themselves to basketball players and all of that, right? It's no less prestigious. Let's be very clear, because, you know.
But we only see you once every 4 years, bro.
It's not. Some of the best basketball players to ever play this game never got a shoot. They never got a shoot. They never were picked out as one of the people that we want to put on a pedestal and parade through the press and all of this as a representative of that. Even if you were that, look at the person that's been the biggest, highest level of representation in the space that you're in. Even when they got a shoot, it was because of culture more than anything. When Usain Bolt got a shoe, it wasn't just because he was the fastest man in the world, right? It was a cultural thing. He carried his country on his back. You know what I'm saying? Yes. He was a larger-than-life personality, and he was winning by seconds, right? Like, not these tight 0.800s.
Yeah. There was no photo finish.
No, not at all. He clearly dominated. Sha'Carri clearly dominated. You know what I'm saying? Those people that get those shoes, they're not question marks. And if you went around and asked people who's the fastest man in the world, a lot of them would probably still think Usain Bolt because they're not tied into that. They would, or they're gonna. If you're not, first of all, you're not even the face of track and field, bro.
No,
like let's start.
No, what you call Sidney
let's
McLaughlin?
Start there.
Well, Sidney McLaughlin, LeBron,
right? So if you're not even that dude in your space, why are you comparing yourself to people who are certifiably that dude in their space? Bro, calm down.
But Bun, when the last time you saw somebody with track spikes at the mall?
I ain't seen nobody. I don't see them at the track. I see old people at the track. It's not America's pastime.
No, it's not. You way
it's
down
there.
It's
not a pathway to anything.
You behind NASCAR. You behind NASCAR. First of all, it's football and basketball and baseball and NASCAR and women's soccer. You way on down the list, bro. And it's something. Look, more now, and you see what they've done is that they have the Olympics every 4 years, and now they're having the World Championships. So people are following a little more. But bro, he's got to stop this hating on basketball players and say, well, they won't give me this. I mean, if you got to go back, really only two guys I can think of that's ever really had a shoe, and you really had to follow track and field to know, that's Michael Johnson and Usain Bolt. But you're talking about two of the greatest Olympians in the history of in track and field.
Michael Johnson was an anomaly in track and field. Like, it wasn't even a question. Like, that was one of the surest bets in sports for years, bro. Years. He literally brought that sport to the forefront of America because of how dominant he was. You're not that guy in track and field, bro. Like, track and field, I just want to be clear, no disrespect to track and field athletes. That ain't never been the prima donnas of sports. There's never been the preeminent athletes.
Look what Jesse Owens had to do. Jesse Owens had to come back. He won 3 gold medals. He came back and had to race horses. But so this fascination, because there's so many other things. You got baseball, you got football, you got basketball. In Jamaica, what other? I'm trying to think. Jamaica, you got track and field, and I think soccer. That's the big. That's the biggest thing you got in Jamaica. They don't play football. They don't play. Cricket. They don't do tennis.
That's
cricket.
That's the big thing. It's cricket.
But I'm saying though. But you know, Noah he's in a niche sport.
I don't understand why he feels now all of a sudden that a track and field star is on the same level. Like, it's no disrespect to the athleticism, right? We can't disrespect the athleticism of any of these Olympic athletes. We all understand what it takes to become who that brother has become.
Yes.
But your beef ain't with athletes, bro. Your beef is with shoe companies,
with track and field federation.
Nobody's going to invest in a shoe that people aren't going to buy. Why? They buy track shoes. One, because track shoes are only meant to be worn on court, and a track shoe only makes you faster on the track court.
The track.
That's the only place it applies. So a basketball player, yes, they will get shoes because people will buy their shoes, put them on, and go fucking play basketball.
And guess what else they'll do? They'll walk in the street. You see them in the mall. They'll go to events in shoes. Because shoes are just not for basketball. Shoes are just their fashion statement now. You see guys at red carpet events. You see guys at award shows. You see guys wearing sneakers.
Yeah, that's the new thing is tennis and tux. Tennis and tux. That's the new thing. But no, he's tripping.
But he started this long ago though, bud. I didn't like it. Talking about he's a world champion of what? The USA? Bro, come on,
I think he's trolling us, bro. I think he's trolling us. I think he's trolling us because he can't possibly believe that this is something that that there's a popular opinion that you're right. That, yeah, you know what? He should be this. No, I don't believe that. I believe other track people are saying, shut up, boy, you finna fuck this up for everybody else.
Exactly. And that, bro, you're not Usain, because Usain was universally loved everywhere. In China, in Jamaica, in America.
Because he was a winner. He was a winner. And not, like you say, not this photo finish.
He was transcendent.
This man was.
He was transcendent. We're going to be talking about Usain Bolt 50 years
We're going to argue about how much faster he could have run in certain races because he slowed down.
I go to my grave believing, had he not celebrated the last 10, 12 meters at Beijing, when he turns sideways and he's pounding his chest, he runs faster than 9.58.
Absolutely.
I believe that.
I don't think he felt the need to run faster in those competitions.
He was so happy he was daylights ahead of people. And still nobody's ever run faster than he ran, and he celebrated the last 10 meters.
Crazy. Noah, go sit down, bro. Sit down, bro. You're in timeout, man. You're in timeout.
Yeah. You effing it up for everybody else. Sidney McLaughlin and LeBron say, I don't feel that way. Rob Benjamin say, I don't feel that way.
Because I like
Quincy Hall.
I like where I'm at with this right now.
Well, if that's the case, hell, Michael Phelps should have got a shoe. Simone Biles should get a shoe. If we throwing out shoes.
This is true. Because they're more accomplished than you in their sports. They're Olympic champions and more accomplished than you.
Yes.
If they didn't get a shoe, why
Sydney is a 2-time Olympic champ. She's the world record holder. She's a 2 or 3-time. I mean, she skipped the last world championship. She's a 2 or 3-time world champion. She's the most dominant 400-meter hurdle. She might be one of the most versatile women in track and field history. Noah, you haven't even won the gold medal in your signature event. And see, and what Michael did, what really put Michael on the map is when the Olympics was in where? Atlanta. He had the gold shoes on. He doubled the 400 and the 200. It's never been done in men. The women, Valerie Briscoe Hooks did it in 84. People don't realize she was the first to do it. And then Jose Marie Perret, she did it. The French one, she doubled up in the 2 and the 4. No, bro, you fight a losing battle. Bro.
He's trolling us.
Look, I don't want people to say. I think he's phenomenal. He's great. But bro, just run, get the meat money. The Adidas, what they pay you, you break a record, or you win the Diamond Leagues, or you win the US, you win the trials, you win the worlds. Bro,
just go all villain. At this point, just go all villain. Right, like you got.
Well, hell, he might but show up with a mask.
You got to do Floyd Mayweather and be the bad guy and try to get for people to pay to watch you lose. That kind of a thing.
But he might as well get a mask. I'm gonna come out there with cowboy. I ain't gonna have my spikes, so I'm gonna come out there with cowboy boots and black leather trench coat, and I'm gonna have a toy gun on my side. If you say go villain, just go.
Tell him go race our show speed. Then I talk to him.
Oh, you wanted to race speed?
I don't know, but if you want to race somebody, you want to prove how fast you is. That go beat speed right now.
But you do realize that if he were to race speed of Tyreek, it'll get more views than if he won in the world
Without
championship.
Question, more people would care, and that's the problem. Like we don't even.
Because track and field is we care about one thing. We care about the Olympics. That's every 4 years. Just imagine, and you can't. And even when they have Diamond League meets, you can't watch them unless you go on the internet, unless you go on your computer and pull them up at Flow Track. Shout out to Flow Track for trying to advertise, trying to showcase. But bro, I'm just keeping it.
We wouldn't even be talking about this man if he wasn't trolling us. Like, I think this is all a troll to get his name in a national conversation one way or another. Some people don't know the difference between famous and infamous. Shannon, they don't know the difference.
Sometimes, they say any news is good news.
You make it work.
Any Pusha T new Pusha T music. Hey, Pusha T hasn't released music since 2018, and he has people constantly wondering who may get this. And this time, it's Travis Scott, the latest target on his new clip single, So Be It. Pusha was upset that Travis previewed his album Utopia to Pharrell in Paris with clips and attendance, but didn't play Drake's verse on Meltdown, a song that Drake taunts Pharrell and Pusha. Bun, I don't know if you've been a part of any beef. I think you have been a little part of a little something.
Yeah, a little something.
So where are you on Pusha?
Pusha's a dangerous man. I had a conversation about Pusha many years ago with a very good friend and mentor of mine, Clark Kent. And Clark Kent was
DJ Clark Kent.
Clark Kent told me this was in the beginning of the Pusha and Drake beef. And I was like, this is going to be interesting. He said, yeah, but not like people think it's going to be interesting, because This dude operates in a space where he really don't have nothing to lose. And I didn't really understand.
That's a dangerous
I didn't
man.
really understand it at the time. And it took me a while to really grasp what he meant when he said it. Because I don't typically get in these things, right? But I understand how confrontation works. And you try to avoid at all costs a man with nothing to lose. As entertainers,
Correct.
We're mostly beholden to the public. Most of us make more money on touring, selling merchandise and those type of things. And in order to really capitalize off of that, you have to be with high standing and high favor with the public.
You got to be liked.
A rich dude that a man that makes his money outside of music doesn't have to worry about that in that way. Pusha T is not beholden to the public in the way that a lot of the rest of us are. He operates in a space where, regardless of whether his albums go platinum or double platinum like that, he's going to eat very well. As long as Pharrell eating, he going to eat. So that's not a threat. They don't do friends anyway. So rubbing people the wrong way is not a problem. They're prepared to not be in favor. That's a dangerous man. That's a dangerous man. Now, I'm not saying that's a man that's going to automatically beat you, but that when you go up against somebody that ain't got nothing to lose in the situation, I'm not going to lose no money. I'm not going to lose no social standing. I'm going to keep being who I was. I'm not going to lose a meal. My family not going to lose the quality of life. You be very careful when you decide to go toe-to-toe with somebody like that. You be very careful because most of us do have things to lose. Most of us do need public favor in order to make money of it. Most of us do need relationships and friends and not to burn bridges with people in order to sustain certain qualities of life. I don't think that brother operate like that. And when there's a freedom that comes in writing when you don't, let me tell you something. There's a difference when you make music because you have to, as opposed to because you want to. There's a difference. There's a freedom that comes with that. There's a confidence that comes with that. Because you're not thinking, "Ooh, what if so-and-so, what if these people are Pitchfork? What if Pitchfork don't put me on the list and all of this type of stuff? What if Apple don't put me on the playlist or I don't get on the Spotify playlist or all of these things?" Some people don't, that's not contingent on them eating at night. For most of us, it's absolutely a part of it. It's an unavoidable part of it. But I don't think he operated in that space. So I think he is willing to just throw caution to the wind and be like, you know what? I don't really fuck with him anyway. And they not lose. They don't. Push is not. You don't see Push at award shows. You don't see him at clubs and parties.
Nope.
They don't mix like that. They mix with their own. And they're pretty good on the streets as well. So it's whatever. That being said, Travis ain't about to back down. Travis ain't about to back down. He's from Houston.
So you think Travis coming back? Travis gonna come back with a verse?
I wouldn't be surprised if you hear something before the weekend's done. It's either go into it or act like it didn't happen. But the problem is that the people are going to demand a response. When these beefs happen, you have to respond. The code is you can't. I'm gonna be the biggest man. I'm just gonna let it go. Hey, like a water off a duck's back. I'm just gonna let it roll. Not if that ain't been a part of your character all this time. You know what I'm saying? You can't be walking around with gloves on, waiting for somebody to tie them up and then turn down the first fight you get.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So I've been around Travis enough to know that no, he's not finna take that line down. He's absolutely not going to allow his public perception to be played with like that. But you got to be careful when people try to bait you in.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. You got to be very careful.
Cause this Pusha is a diss artist. He got one of the best diss. You know he went at Drake.
He operates in this space. This is not new to him. This is not a problem for him, and he don't answer to people in that way. Not saying that Travis answered to people, but Travis got a fan base that's huge, like international, millions and millions of people around the world who have bought into Travis Scott. You know what I'm saying? Because
that's why he got them collabs with sneaker Nike,
and he's got the relationship with Louis Vuitton as well, with Adidas, all these kinds of things.
Audemars.
Absolutely. So this is going to happen, and it's not going to look. We've only heard 2 songs, and he did somebody on both songs. It's not over. I think there's a couple of more targets.
Damn.
I think there's a couple of more targets.
So he wrote a diss album.
There's no telling who Pusha don't like for whatever reason, and there's no telling if he's going to decide to speak on it. You know what I'm saying? He's not a quiet guy. He's not a quiet guy. He's not a scary guy. He's not easily pushed around. You know what I'm saying? No pun intended. So it's going to be interesting to watch how this play out. It really is. Because Travis is either going to have to ignore it or go all in.
Wow.
That's the only way these things work. Because I don't Push is a guy, I say what I said and I'm done kind of a thing. So if there's more slugs to be shot, it's going to be at more rappers. It won't be multiple shots at one or two people. If he's jumping off the porch,
so he got a hit.
If he's jumping off the porch, he's going to jump all the way off the porch, not 2 steps down. He's going to be in some grass. He's going to be in some grass.
He ain't looking to get off and get back on. He going to stay off the porch. He off.
I like this stuff, man. It keeps raps fun. It keeps it fresh. And it reminds people to not get comfortable. That's the one thing I like about rap.
As long as it stays on wax.
That's fine. And I don't think these guys move in the same social circles to where their camps would ever really kind of be. When people are aware of these things, right? So they try to avoid each other. It's not even them. Promoters, the smart promoters, will try to avoid that. Most people's teams won't allow them to be booked in the same place anyway. Because you'd have to be a messy promoter to try to book like Drake and Kendrick at the same festival. Drake's people, not because only one can close, right? So,
and both of them feel they bring the house down.
This promoter is not going to get into that, or their representation is not going to allow them to be pulled into that type of thing. So it's going to be interesting to see how many people he dissed on his album and how those people respond, because rap demands a response now. Because, like I talked about the equipment, music equipment and all that stuff is so much cheaper. The technology is cheaper. So you ain't got to wait and book no studio. Most of these dudes are multi-millionaires. They got a studio at the crib. We can go in and make something about this right now, or hold it back.
But do you think we're going to see more of this because of the success that Kendrick had with his shot that he took at Drake? And you look at what it parlayed into. He got the Super Bowl. He got 5 Grammys. He's selling out the most. I think $14 million in one show. All of his shows with SZA is selling out. Are we heading down a path where people see that this is a way that, okay, we saw what Kendrick did, let's take this road?
You got to bring ass to kick ass. So I would not recommend people think that that's how that goes, that you did somebody and jump out there. No, that's not how that works. First of all, you got to be more talented than the other person. You know what I'm saying? Kendrick is one of the single most talented writers we have, one of the deepest thinkers that we have. So going up against everybody ain't going to be your forte. You know what I'm saying? Everybody ain't built to be dissed. I don't know if people understand that. Everybody's not built for public humiliation. You know what I'm saying? Like, some people will overthink those things. And I've never fought everybody that I knew I could beat up.
You get no satisfaction.
I don't get no points. I don't get no credit. You know what I'm saying? It's a weaker person. So punching down is not going to work. And everybody can't punch up. So somebody's got to lose. So again, it all goes back to, you can engage in this stuff and it'll be fun and you'll get some streams or whatever, but somebody's going to lose. And can you afford to lose in those spaces? I feel like Pusha can. I don't think being popular changes anything for him. You know what I'm saying? He's always been a unique taste. Like, he's made street music and they've had commercial success, but they've never toured in that way, right? They aren't dependent on the other parts of the machine that everyone else is solely dependent on. Because we don't have somebody like Pharrell who's, always going to produce everything we do. So we know we're getting a hit record, who's always going to have his hands into some major cultural happenings. You know what I'm saying? So we'll always be a part of it. It's always doing these huge deals. So we'll always be in this position of financial benefit working with him. So all this other shit ain't nothing. We just having fun. I believe this is very, very fun for Pusha because there's no threat to anything.
Right. Complex listed the 30 corniest rap beefs of all time. You see that list? We're going to put the list up there.
I have not seen this list. Please put this list up.
We can't. Okay, I'm gonna name a couple of them: Coolio and Weird Al, True Life and Jim Jones, Nelly and Chingy, Bad Barbie and Alabama Barker, 6ix9ine and Triple Red, Nicki Minaj and Ransom, Kia versus Lil Kim, Nicki Minaj, etc. Gilly the Kid versus Lil Wayne, Joe Budden versus Drake, Jermaine Dupri versus Dr. Dre and Timbaland, Tyga versus Drake, Luda versus Big Sean and Drake, Soulja Boy versus Bow Wow, J. Cole versus Cannabis, Joey Badass versus Lil B, Charles Hamilton versus Soulja Boy, Young L.A. versus Alley Boy, Eminem, Nick Cannon, PM Dawn, KRS-One, Terry Kennedy, Lupe Fiasco, Common, Drake, MC Hammer, Jay-Z, Lil Kim, Nicki Minaj, KRS-One, Nelly, Timbaland, Scott Storch, Ice-T, Soulja Boy, The Game, Jay-Z.
About 3 or 4 of them was with Soulja Boy.
You thinking the same thing? He hit it with somebody all the time.
You know, there was a lot of resentment for him just on general principle. People thought that he hadn't sacrificed or worked hard enough to get what he had gotten, and that's just not how.
He had the first iPhone, right? But you know he had the first iPhone.
Yeah, he had the first everything.
He had the first microphone too.
He'll tell you he had the first Trill Burger. Now, the only one of those that weren't corny, the only one of those out of all those you named that was actually a situation which it didn't have anything to music was a true life Jim Jones type of situation. That was something that was not music. That was something that spilled into music from some street things going on. So that one was that wasn't corny. That people could have really gotten hurt with that in that situation.
Yes.
But the rest of the stuff, folks, people would argue whether or not some of those people are even considered like legitimate rappers. Like Weird Al. Come on, bro. Why are we even Coolio and Weird Al? Rest in peace, Coolio, first of all, to the OG. But rap and Weird Al don't even go together in a sense.
Bad Barbie and Alabama Barker, really? That's what we doing?
Are they really even considered like? And I've known Alabama since she was a little girl. I've had a relationship with Travis for many, many years now. I just don't. They just playing on the internet, bro. They're not. These people are not rappers. They make rap music, and that's the problem. Like we live in an age now where people make rap music who aren't rappers, but they have a following. You know what I'm saying? You have a lot of streamers, right? These guys stream for, their content is fairly long. So a lot of them, they're streaming for hours and they can only get, that one person, that one view during that stream. But if they make a song and the song's only 3 minutes long, as opposed to a 1 hour stream, they can get replays on that stream. So you'll have guys like, I met the guy Rice Gum. He's with the FaZe Clan and all those guys, the streamers, right? He's one of the top streamers in the world. And he made a record just because he could. And it got like 8 million views in like no time because he's already got the audience. So he already got views. Views don't equal talent. And I'm not saying that Rice didn't have any talent, because for a streamer, he was a decent enough rapper, whatever. But that don't mean talent, and that shit don't translate in the real world. You have a lot of people, they get a lot of attention online, they get a lot of streams and all of that, but they couldn't book a show to save their life because nobody really wants to see an extended version of that in the world. Like, I ain't got time to really go and watch you do all
I'll watch it, but I ain't gonna pay no money to go watch it.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of these people, they just they playing that rap. You know what I'm saying? Now, the J. Cole's, the Commons, and all of those people are right. A lot of that stuff is just misunderstanding. You know what I'm saying? A lot of those were just really misunderstandings, and people like I don't like why this guy is here, and they don't really even know these people. Third Base, MC Hammer, and all of that type of stuff. Where, to be honest, no beef with Hammer was corny, because Hammer was really about them streets. Hammer was really outside. Yeah. But people think they can shoot at low-hanging fruit. That's everything you talking about. One of those people thought they was really rapping, and they thought the other person really wasn't even going to be able to hang in the competition. But we live in the internet age now. This has very little to do with the music. It's always about the content and going live and talking shit on people
Right.
and calling people out their name and pulling up. And yeah, man, we done pulled up on old block and we done pulled up over here and ain't nobody outside. Where y'all at? We out here and all of that. It goes beyond the music. The music gonna be one video post, but the beef gonna be 25. Because we're not just buying music no more, Shannon. I don't think people realize that. We're not buying music, we're buying into personalities. We're buying the person. You know what I'm saying? The music is cool, but as far as the average consumer feels, everybody can rap, everybody can make songs. My doorman, the boy at the laundromat can make a rhyme. The guy that brought my dinner to me at the restaurant, he can rhyme, they can all rap. But who are you as a person? You know what I'm saying? People can't just like you. People got to want.
They want to feel like they're a part of you. They want to feel like they really.
They want to go on that walk with you. I tell all up and coming artists, film everything, shoot everything you know and shoot it all, because you don't know what part of your life people gonna actually connect to. I was doing music for years. I put up posts and all of that, and I get a reasonable response. But we started doing food videos a couple of years ago with my granddaughter, me and my wife. My granddaughter started doing food videos. I started a YouTube page. I got 137,000 followers on my YouTube page because I was doing like 60-second Instagram videos. And that started the blog, which started Trill Burgers. I had no idea people were interested in what I was eating for dinner. You know what I'm saying? So you share all of these things and you find out what clicks. You know what I'm saying? You've got a bigger relationship with the public now as a podcaster, as an interviewer, than you probably ever had as an athlete.
Ever.
You know what I'm saying? And now
that
you realize that gives you a stronger, deeper connection with people, now we can really play with this. If that's what y'all wanted from me, was to talk, y'all must not know how much I like to talk anyway. So let's get to it. Let's get to it.
Timbaland got blasted on social media for using a producer's beat and a producer's tag to train his AI platform, Suno. Tim previewed a demo record which utilized the beat tag from K-Fresh and lyrics from TikTok creator. He sought to make a new version of the song, but users quickly noticed they were a bit too similar. They called out the Virginia producer using real music made by human beings to train AI without crediting or paying them. Bun. And I remember having a conversation with Tim because I had him on the pod, and he said he was nervous about this. Bun, do you think about the controversy? What do you think's going on with Tim and this new AI creation?
I think for one, it's uncharted territory, and I think it's still in the very early stages of the technology. I think it's going to grow over leaps and bounds over the next couple of years because they covered so much ground in the last 10 years with AI technology. You know what I'm saying? AI companies are starting to pop up more and more, and they're all billion-dollar companies. People are flooding these companies with all kinds of money. I think this is the problem. I think that we're not thinking about this. What they're doing now, the only way that AI can do these things is if you feed it information. You have to feed it information. I know on a very small level, an introductory level, there are musicians who are feeding AI machines their voices, their cadences, their tones, some of them, the way they play, instrumentation. And now the AI program can replicate what a rhyme from you would sound like without you having to write it. What chords being played would sound like without you having to play them. You know what I'm saying? That's very dangerous. Here's the real danger though, Shannon. What I believe, we live in a digital world, right? Everything digital has what they call watermarks, right? And watermarks are what they use to track the technology as it goes out into the world. So companies can be like, oh, that's what they're doing? That's our technology. I bet you we can find it in the code, right? That kind of a thing. I think everybody that's utilizing this stuff right now, I feel like one day ChatGPT can wake up one day and say, everybody that's ever made music using my technology, we own a piece of it. And there's nothing you can say. I don't believe anybody's read the agreement, right? I'm sure if somebody got through these ChatGPT and all these different AI companies' agreements, when you agree to utilize the technology or download the app and all of that, I guarantee that they are going to go back, find out everything that was created using their technology that profited, that was sent out into the world as commerce, and people spent money on it. They're going to come back the same way that older artists are coming back because somebody sampled their music, right? I've created that. you took my creation and manipulated it without paying me. You owe me money. I believe these people are giving this technology out to people for free in the hopes that they utilize it, unknowingly giving these companies a piece of this intellectual property, because it's all intellectual property. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? So I think I won't touch it. I won't download it or nothing, because not that I'm against it, you know, for recreational use, I guess that's fine. If it helps organize things or put things together, you know, however, that I understand. But when we're talking about utilizing this technology to manipulate intellectual properties, bro, we playing a dangerous ass game, because somebody could just start feeding AI Timbaland's beat structures. You know what I'm saying? They could start utilizing his drum patterns and put that in and make a Timbaland record without him, you know? And you're opening yourself up, quite frankly, with the way he's doing it, to a whole lot of litigation and a whole lot of trouble. Personally, I don't think America is the market for that. Japan, China's been doing it for years. You know what I'm saying? But that's a cultural thing. They socialize different in certain countries. So having a relationship with someone that I know this shit sounds crazy, but having a relationship with a machine for some people fits their lifestyle a lot better. It doesn't work because they don't have the social graces to go out and meet people and commune with people in that way. So this is a healthy, in their minds, alternative. But here, no, at some point we're gonna want to see somebody get on stage and sing this shit. You know what I'm saying? And you know, it's the allure, right? It's the allure. Like Megan Thee Stallion is a famous person because men find her attractive, women find her attractive. You know what I'm saying? There's an allure to it. Japan and China has that very strange relationship with technology in that way, where they don't just make robots, they have relationships with robots and pillows and all of that type of shit. Is different. I don't think that he can break a star like that, because at some point somebody got to get on the stage, somebody got to sign an autograph, somebody got to take a picture, you know. And I don't think we want to see a robot and a computer do that to the point of touring today. But you know, you never know with this AI.
10 years from now, it might
look,
be
I'm
different.
an analog dude. I come up on 8 tracks and putting 45s on the record player and all that stuff.
45-year-old.
I'm not knocking it, but I think we don't understand it enough to utilize it in the way that we're trying to utilize it. I think that's the real problem with Tim. So I don't think he's really thinking of the cons. Everybody uses AI for what they think they can make it work for, but nobody's thinking about how this could set back. And Timbaland's such a major, impactful player in the entertainment industry that shit could really, people would follow suit. If he became successful, if he and this artist become successful, this will be a thing. It will be a whole thing.
Will Smith is reflecting on raising Jaden and Willow and revealed that honesty isn't always the best when parenting your children. We made a very, 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 very terrible mistake with our children, and we went radical honesty. But don't do it. I'm not advocating for it. I'm not advocating for it. We made a deal from really young with our kids. The deal was you tell the truth, you won't get in trouble. He explained that the parenting style backfired with the 2 youngest kids. The only way you can get in trouble in this house, that if we find out you did something and you didn't tell the truth, it was a mistake. It was terrible, because they do whatever they want and then they come tell you. It's awful. Don't try it. If you want your kids to lie, definitely. Don't want to know stuff your kids are thinking of doing. Bun, you got kids, you got grandkids. And a lot of times, you know, the thing is, if you're not careful, Bun, you kind of raise your kids kind of the way you was raised, because that's what you know. You know, you see the way you know, might yell and the least little thing might set you off, but you got to, you know, especially if, you know, you got to try to break that cycle. He said that if you tell us the truth, you won't get in trouble. Bull jive.
That I don't know how they kept that up, bro. To be honest, because yeah, your parents will say that, but when you really start telling what you really do, we're gonna have some problems in this house.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? And I don't understand this idea of being raised a certain way, constantly telling people that the way you was raised made you how you were, and then you refuse to instill any of that into your children. I don't understand these
Correct.
people that, for example, the coaches that when I was in school, the coaches was built a certain way. Coaches were
Absolutely.
built a certain way, and the players they didn't like running, they ain't like the drills, they ain't like none of that stuff. And those are the coaches now. You know what I'm saying? So we're getting a lesser version of what we had. I don't understand why people whose life trajectory was determined based on the fact of the discipline that was inserted into their life, and to deny their children that same discipline. We the only generation, Shannon. We're the only generation that ain't sacrificed quality of life for our children. We want our kids in Jordans, and we want Jordans. We want our kids in nice clothes, and we want nice clothes. My old man didn't even, I remember that man didn't use lotion, bro. Like, his life was not about modern convenience for him. It was about convenience for the family. But when you don't have to struggle like that, it's different. The house my kids grew in is different from the house that my grandkids visit. Right? Like we had to work up to this house, but they were born into this house. You know what I'm saying? So they just think that's how it's supposed to go. Somebody like Will Smith, and I know for a fact Will Smith came up hard in Philly. I know for a fact Jada Pinkett came up hard in the Bay, right? And I know they are strong-willed as they are because of the discipline that was instilled, because they could have very easily been taken away by the community that they lived in. We understand those things.
Correct.
That still exists in rich neighborhoods too, because it's bad rich kids too. You know what I'm saying? Those kids tend to get away with more because the parents can get them out of most shit. So the idea of letting your children live a free life as long as they tell you the truth, it's shit I still can't admit to my mama I did. I might still get popped upside my head. And there's things that my mama told me she knew that I didn't even know she knew I did. You know what I'm saying?
Some things you just take to your grave, Bun.
I have a nephew. I won't get too deep into it, but I have a nephew. And his daddy was a certain way when he was young. His daddy was a very, very well-known person in the city. And his mama tried everything to not let him know how his daddy really, really got down. Man, once that boy found that out, like she thought he was old enough to deal with the reality of that, trouble. Went out there trying to be like his dad, trying to live up to a life that was never meant for him, that he was never a part of, to never say, just to see if it was in him. And then you end up in the penitentiary, you end up in jail and all this stuff. Now, in retrospect, you realize you chasing after something you should.
You know? Yeah, that's not you. That was his life. That's not yours.
Right. Now,
but you know what, Bun? That's how you have to be. And I told my kids, I live my life. I say, playing in the NFL was my dream. That's not yours. You live your dream. So when you start trying to live somebody else's dream, that's where you run into problems. I didn't push I got a son, bro, you ain't gonna play football, you ain't gonna play basketball, you're not gonna do X, Y, and Z. But that's not his dream. That was mine. I want you to be whatever you choose to be. I just want you to be the best you can.
I'd rather you be a good you than a bad me.
Yeah, absolutely. There it is.
I would much rather you be the best version of you than a bad version of me.
Smith recently dropped an album, his first album in 20 years. His new song got killed online. Bun, why do you think Will refocused on music?
I don't.
Because he was the first guy people don't realize, some do, but Will was the first artist to win a rap
Absolutely.
Grammy.
Now, Will's always been ahead of the curve. I think this is a new way of him re-engaging with the public. You know, Will jumped on social media with a splash, because no one that had ever been that famous in that world had ever opened up their life like that, right? And it started with his Instagram page. Will was going all over the world, doing all this crazy shit on Instagram, and we were drawn to it. At the same time, Red Table Talk, we get to look, pull the curtains back on the Wizard and see these people have this very vulnerable conversation. You know what I'm saying? I think this is a lot easier for him to do right now. I don't think movies is a big thing for him right now. I think this is just a different way for him to engage with people. And I can understand that, because you see a lot of other actors doing a lot of that stuff now, trying to go out. Tom Cruise going to, all the movie theaters and hanging out with the people and stuff like that, But I think with Will, you can't chase the dragon. Like, Will has all the resources that you need to release an album to have impact internationally. But again, you got to read the room. Just because you can do some things don't mean you should. Just because you can go somewhere don't mean you need to be there. But Will Smith can do this, and this don't really change nothing. Nobody's gonna stop seeing the movie because of Will Smith did an album that they didn't care for. Nobody's gonna stop tuning in.
Because they're two separate things.
Absolutely. And we don't expect everybody to be great at everything they do. I know I don't. I don't expect everybody to be great at everything they do. I expect you to be good at what you don't want to be good at.
Because I might like Will Smith, the movie star, but not like Will Smith.
Well, some people might not even.
Excuse me, the
some
rapper.
People may not even know who it is, right? So you can look at it in two ways, right? You can look at it the hip hop fans who may not be all the way with him in the movies, because some of his movies might be different, and then you may have some movie fans that may not be all the way in on the music. Like I said, I got people that come and eat the burger that don't even know who Bun B the rapper is. So you may have a lot of Will Smith fans, particularly internationally, who some of them may not know, although he's so tied in with the Fresh Prince and the TV show, and everybody knows that song, right? But I don't think there's a high level of expectation. I don't think anybody expects more out of his record than he does. This could be marketing, right? This could be just a way to, because if you notice, everything he's doing is international. Like the videos, the concerts, the performances, all the street shit, everything he's doing to engage with people is internationally. Because I'm almost certain he's a bigger star internationally than he is here. So this is just probably, we love Will Smith. We grew up with Will Smith. We've been on him for years. We're going to go see Will Smith. I think because he's not doing a multitude of action movies and shit right now, like he normally do, this is just a way of keeping himself on people's minds. Like Hov make albums now. Hov don't make an album to make money off of music. Hov uses it to keep his public profile at a high level to perpetuate other income revenue streams that he got coming in.
How much you think is from the blowback because of what happened with him and Chris Rock? Do you think he's still suffering from that, Bun?
I wouldn't say suffering, right? I think the people that don't like him for that don't like him for that. But there's people that are famous like Will Smith will always have not just fans, they'll have sycophants, right? So there's always going to be a contingency of people that want Will Smith's entertainment, right? They're going to want that. There's no way around it. He's a bigger force in that space than Chris Rock. And it's not like they get less Chris Rock because of what happened. They get pretty much the same amount of Chris Rock. So I don't think it's pushback on that professionally. Now, personally, he may be going through something where he feels like he's got to reinvigorate the image, go out there and make himself likable and lovable again to people. That could be happening because it can't be for money, right? He can't be making his music for money. So it's got to be a way that he thinks he can better rebuild the relationship with people that may be looking at him a certain way. I don't think it's necessary, but he may think it's necessary. Because like we talked about LeBron, he's one of those people that like to be liked. That's for goddamn sure. That's the big thing about Will Smith. He always come in with that big smile. He's very engaging, very entertaining, very likable, very approachable, very personable. Those kind of people don't like it when they're not loved
like they're being liked
in the public sphere. So it could just be for him because the career don't need it. But maybe internationally, it might be some shit he got to do because maybe that translated different over there when he did that shit.
Mariah Carey still doesn't believe in birthdays or the passage of time. I just don't believe in time. I don't have a birthday. Anniversaries, yes. But birthday, no.
You gotta love Mariah. You gotta love Mariah Carey. The older I get and the more we start to know about Mariah Carey, because she was very private for a long time. She was very private about a lot of things for a long time. I don't think we realize, and I'm going to say this, and I don't think we realize how black Mariah Carey is. I think I don't think we realize that's a real sister. right? Compared to what the public perception may be. And I heard she's a fool too. Like she's a very funny, like very, very down to earth person. This is par for the course. I remember all the shit with J-Lo. Like, I don't know this person and all that. Mariah Carey is a whole fool, like for real. And for her to want to marry and make kids and do all of these things with Nick Cannon really tells me like you a fool. Like you
damn, bro.
I don't mean crazy. I mean like like you got a real personality. Like you subject to say some wild shit. That's who Mariah Carey is. That's why Mariah Carey don't do a lot in public because she knows she prone to say some crazy shit.
She's liable to say anything.
Yes, absolutely. I love it because she been consistent. She is who she is. She don't do shit for cap. She don't do shit for the cameras. She only come out when she comfortable. This whole thing with Anderson .Paak is very interesting because I love this new song. She got the new single that's written and produced by Anderson .Paak, who's an amazing artist. And they also saying that they're a couple now too. You know what I'm saying? So those things are always good for music when artists, you know, get in a relationship with somebody, they can create together. That's always a good and fun thing. And she looked happy. She looks happy as hell. She's always had this very awkward energy in public kind of a thing because I feel like she knows she can't be herself. The image has been presented a certain way as to how Mariah Carey moves. And don't get me wrong, she's as classy as she presents herself. She's all of that. But soon as the camera cut off, you could tell shit, girl, what's up? Like, yes, you know what I'm saying? Ready to release. So I'm happy for Mariah. Mariah not celebrating birthdays, that's very Mariah of her.
Bun, let me know what you think. Jadakiss is still upset about not making the top 5 on Complex Top 50 New York list. If we were to do a top 50 Houston list, is Bun gonna be in the top 10?
There's an argument to that. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because technically, I'm from Port Arthur. That's the way that I've been put in this lexicon. UGK typically is taken out of that conversation for Houston.
Okay.
Now, Texas, oh no, you're gonna have hell trying to be better than this in Texas.
Okay, since it's New York, we gonna make it Texas then.
No, you can't even have that conversation. You can't even have that conversation without me. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but there's a certain style of rapping that didn't even really exist in Houston before I started rapping a certain way. Like being a lyricist wasn't necessarily a requirement. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't necessarily something you had to do to be successful here because it wasn't a demand primarily. But I felt like I was already way past my competition here. So I was competing with everybody. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, there's no way you could. The only way you take me out of it is that it's like, no, Bun, we don't mean you. We don't mean like you and Face or whatever. But if we talking about everybody, top 5 from Texas, man, I gotta watch my mouth on this show. I'm really trying to be cool about it. I honestly don't think there's 5 people from Houston that can rap better than me. That's ever from the state of Texas that's better than me. I give you DOC and Scarface. That's it. Maybe 3-2. Maybe rest in peace, 3-2. But no.
Yeah, they got. Yeah, I'm looking at this list. Yeah, they got Jada. Damn, they got Jada at 16.
Yeah, no, they wrong for that. They very wrong for that. And look, I understand because you have to understand that some of the greatest rappers of all time came from New York.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
That's where it started.
So I understand why they would want to honor other people before they honored Jadakiss. You know what I'm saying? I get that. But look, all this shit is relative, right? Because in the earliest days, wasn't nobody harder than LL, then wasn't nobody harder than Rakim, then KRS, you know, like these things are subjective. You know what I'm saying? Yep. But if somebody that lives in the modern time in New York City is rating New York rappers and they don't put Jadakiss in he's top 10, right? If I can understand people wanting to argue about whether or not he's top 5. If you look at the whole scheme, because you got to put the Rakims and the Big Daddy Kanes and the Coogee Raps.
You got
know what I'm
Jay-Z.
saying? All these great
man,
people.
They got Big Daddy Kane. Man, they got Big Daddy Kane so far down. Man, the people don't realize how good Big Daddy Kane was. Big Daddy Kane is still like
Look,
that.
Man, we sit in order Jordan. We argue Jordan and LeBron all over again. That's all this is. Different times speak to different sensitivities. You know what I'm saying? And that's how people draw these lists. I could understand him being upset, but at the same time, it's all subjective. You know what I'm saying? And when you meet the people that typically make these lists, they aren't legitimately. They're not steeped enough in the culture to really have these conversations with, much less give any validity to that shit. I don't give these people no weight just because they say they listen to a bunch of music. Shit, I listen to a bunch of music. I listen to a bunch of R&B too. I ain't finna sit and act like I can sing or judge people who can't sing. I can't even hum shit.
All right, Bun, we better close it out on this. We got our final segment of the day. It's time for Q and A.
Okay. Here we go. Q and A, baby.
Joe Bombo's Athlon's Playbook. Bun, this one's for you. Bun B, when are we going to get a Kendrick UGK collab?
That's a good question. I've not been able to really have a relationship with Kendrick. That's for somebody that I literally have not bumped into. Of all the people in hip hop, I've never bumped into him. But that's not surprising because Kendrick don't really socialize like that outside of, you know, his homeboys in LA and people that he records with. It's not somebody that you'll see at Rolling Loud or Coachella or something like that, or at somebody's release party or you know, a new Jordan release or something like that. He just don't socialize like that. You know what I'm saying? So there's no relationship to even extend the offer. I wouldn't even know how to. I don't got his email or nothing.
Wouldn't even go about. Hey,
but I mean, he's an amazing rapper.
Go about
I love him. I always want to rap with the best people. You know what I'm saying? So anybody that's considered one of the best, the studio is always open.
Hugs973 said, Bun, do you think they'll bring the Comets back?
No, but I don't.
The WNBA.
Well, they are. Now they are looking to bring a WNBA team back to Houston. I know they're thinking of that, but I don't know if they would call that team the Comets. I'm not sure who owns that name in that way. I'm not sure if the Rockets ownership, if that's something that transfers from owner to owner, or how that works. But I mean, I think it would be great for the city. I think the city would come all the way out. But you got to understand, if you decide to call a WNBA team the Comets, you got to have the best of the best on that team, because that's arguably the best legacy ever in WNBA basketball. Yeah,
you had Coop, you had Cheryl Swoops, you had Tina Thompson. Oh, y'all was loaded. That's why you won 4
Kim
straight.
Perron was a hometown hero. Again. God bless her. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
We had that squad. There's never been as dominant a team as that team was. 4P, right?
Yep.
Crazy.
The first 4.
Crazy.
Fans New Jersey said, let's bring in Mike Jones from Houston for his Houston opinion. Anyone got his number? Mike is going to come on in the very near future, and guess what? Come back and we'll ask
his number ain't changed. He still got that number.
Kimber Norwood Jr. said, Unc and Bun B, my question, how many Super Bowls would Peyton Manning have if he was quarterback for the Patriots and Tom Brady was the quarterback for the Colts?
That's a good question, because you've got to think of the drive that Tom came in with. There's a big difference between getting drafted here at the top and getting drafted at the bottom. Both of those put a fire under you, but for different reasons. And also, I think initially Peyton might have had a little bit more knowledge of the game and naturally fell into that leadership quality, whereas Tom was the leader of the locker room, but never the leader of the team. Peyton had power in his early years. Tom gradually gained that power and knew how to utilize it a little bit different. And then he had Belichick too, right? And that's a whole different type of discipline. That
was a whole different animal. Peyton never had a coach like that had that kind of control, because Peyton really had the control. Peyton ran practice. Peyton ran the 2 minutes. Peyton ran everything. And so
different responsibilities,
privileges that Brady was never.
I know, Shannon, different responsibilities create different people.
Absolutely.
There's a big difference of what's expected from the big brother than the little brother. You know
Correct.
what I'm saying?
Yep. I absolutely know what you're saying. Bun, I was fun.
I enjoyed it, man.
You got to come back and do this.
I enjoyed it. Look, you call me up anytime. I'll be the co-host permanente over here.
Guys, thank you for joining us for another episode of Nightcap with me, your favorite Unc, Shannon Sharpe, and filling in for Ocho, who's having fun over there in Paris, Bun B. Bun, we can't thank you enough. I'm sure the chat really loved that tonight, guys. Give Bun a hand. Hey, come into the comments and let us know, because he did an unbelievable job explaining everything. He didn't duck any questions. A lot of times guys come on here and they didn't want to talk about this and don't want to talk about that. But Bun, jumped on it with both feet. So we can't thank you enough.
Come on, Shannon, man. I appreciate you. But don't forget my bottle. And I send my bottle.
Oh, we got that. We'll get your address. We're going to get it to you. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Please make sure you hit the like button. And guys, go subscribe to the Nightcap podcast feed wherever you get your podcast from. We can't thank you enough for your support and your continued support, because thanks to you, we're able to do what we do at Nightcap. So everybody here at the Nightcap family want to thank you for your support. Please make sure you go check out Shea by Le Portier, a premium cognac that won many, many awards. Best tasting premium cognac on the market. Don't take my word for it. Try it for yourself. You will not be disappointed. Now, if you can't find it in a city or a state near you, order it online. We'll ship it directly to you before we come to a city or state near you. Please drink responsibly and stay safe. Go follow my media company page on all of its platforms, Shay Media, and my clothing company, 84, with 84 being spelled out. That link is pinned in the chat. Supplies are limited, and once they're gone, they're gone. So please grab yours while supplies last. Thank you for joining us again tonight. Thank you, our guest host, Bun B. We're back tomorrow. Joe and I are back tomorrow. Game 6. Thursday. Oh, boy. We're off tomorrow. We're off tomorrow. Finally, I get a day off. We'll see you Thursday. Joe and I'll see you Thursday and see if Indy can extend the series or will OKC get their first championship. Bun, again, a thank you. Thank you, chat. Greatly appreciate everybody. Good night. God bless. We'll see you on Thursday. Bun, appreciate you.
Thank you, young man. Anytime, brother. Anytime.
Gotcha.